Osiris.
Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, February 16th. Hey, I want to start by asking you a favor. If you're enjoying what we're doing here, go to Apple Podcasts. The link is in the show notes. Give us a review, 5-star review, assuming that you like what we do here. Share the podcast with your friends, and most importantly, just leave a review because it really helps. Okay, there was a really cool event last night in Asheville related to Osiris, but is amazing on its own. There was a live show with Oteil Burbridge, John Medeski, Maggie Rose, Vernon Reid, Jeff Sipe, and more live from Asheville. This is part of a new show called No Simple Disruption, which is a platform for young poets and spoken word artists to share, collaborate, and engage. So this is a really interesting concept that was dreamed up by Jeff Firewalker Schmidt and John Medeski and came to us via the No Simple Road team. And basically last night they had opening acts, which are young musicians collaborating with young poets to, in their words, described bringing their original thought-provoking, world-changing lyrics to center stage. And this collaboration is the beginning of a deep relationship with the creative youth of Asheville. This was in Asheville, North Carolina, and the plethora of talented mentors with ties to the Asheville community. So this was a really cool show. There was a lot happening there. The full video is on YouTube, so check that out. And check out No Simple Disruption. I will put a link in the show notes. They released one episode of the podcast so far, and I thought it was really cool. It was with Rising Appalachia, who was the musical guest, and there was a young poet, and they basically, for each episode, bring together a poet and musicians, and the musicians listen to the poet's writing, the poem that they wrote, of course, and then they create some music to go along with it. It's a really cool concept, and they're just getting off the ground, but this live event in Asheville last night was a fundraiser for the organization, and it seems like it was a huge success. The music was really great. So check that out. All right, Ryan Storm Sound has a new keyboard rig rundown out with Joel Cummins. Joel of Humphreys, of course, breaks down this full keyboard rig. Ryan's done a lot of these with Mark Brownstein, Karina Reichman, Jeff, Rick, and Peter from Goose, and many more. And I know he has more planned. He's doing a great job, and these rig rundowns are really pretty awesome. So check those out. That's linked in the show notes as well. More Ryan Storm content. Today, Ryan's Goose podcast, Always Almost There, we'll have Peter from Goose live. It's today, Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern. They live stream these just like we do with HF Pod. So Ryan and the team, they're in the middle of their Jam of the Year bracket, which is pretty interesting and has reminded me to go back to a lot of Goose jams from 2022. So they're going to talk with Peter about all things Goose. That should be really fun. The link is in the show notes. You can watch that on YouTube and lots of other places. But check out that link and check out the show. Lastly, today in Phish history, February 16th, 2003, this interesting tour really starts to kind of pick up steam in Vegas on February 16th. So this is a really interesting tour. I think we're celebrating the 20th anniversary, obviously. It's strange because in Alive Again, the podcast that we did with Trey, he talked about the fact that Phish took this hiatus, obviously, at the end of 2000 through the end of 2002. And, they were hoping that they could remove some of the distractions and some of the giant, backstage crowds and some of the drugs and all that stuff. And they went back at MSG, 12/31/02, and as in Trey's own words, it was all right back where it started. And you can kind of hear that throughout 2003, that it kind of goes back. And then, of course, 2004 is a whole different story. But in 2003, this February tour is there's some really amazing music. And I don't go back to 2.0 very often. And those of you who've listened to HF Pod probably know that. I'm not like a huge 2.0 fan, but I'm excited to go back to these February 03 shows because I think there's some really, really cool stuff in there. In this show in particular, there is a 18-minute David Bowie opener, the first David Bowie opener since 12/30/93. It goes into Catapult, back into Bowie toward the end. There's a Down with Disease, Seven Below, and then a really, really long and pretty fiery Piper toward the end of the second set. So this is a good one to go back to. I'll highlight some other February 03 shows as we get further along, but it's a good tour, and I think you all should check it out. Okay, I think that's everything for today. Thank you all for listening, and again, leave us a review if you can. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Osiris.